Happy birthday.
Wait, who ordered the rain?
We're Zeke and Terri, midlife empty nest travel adventurers.
Join us as we navigate our lives and the world, mostly together.
In our video on Sonoma County, specifically Santa Rosa and Sebastopol, I mentioned that my favorite place to go wine tasting was Healdsburg, California. While still beautiful, Healdsburg isn't quite the same as it was before the pandemic.
We were last there a few years before everything shut down due to COVID. And what we remember was so much more laid back than what we experienced for Terri's birthday.
For context, Healdsburg is in Sonoma County, about 70 miles north of San Francisco. It's northwest of Napa and part of Northern California's wine country.
There's a downtown square with some businesses extending a few blocks beyond it, and then it's farmland and vineyards. In 2024, the population was only 12,000 people.
Yeah, well, that surprised me because I expected that there would be more people. Maybe there's just more farmland. It takes about an hour and 45 minutes to get to Healdsburg from our house in Redwood City when we drive up Highway 101 through San Francisco. And as Zeke said, it's been a while since we've been to Healdsburg, and this time everything felt very transactional. It used to feel very welcoming and unpretentious, and now most wineries require reservations for experiences and not just wine tasting.
Gone are the days when you could drive around, see a wine tasting sign in the driveway to a winery, and walk in to taste wine. This was such a great way to discover new wineries and wines.
Yeah, and also gone are the days when the tasting fee was comped if you bought wine. This time we went to Preston Farm and Winery, Lambert Bridge, and Quivira for me to taste wine, and I left with 2 cases between the 3 wineries and paid for all 3 tastings. Lambert Bridge was $75 and included some crackers, Marcona almonds, a spread, and some olives. They set it up really nicely, but it felt more like a restaurant than a winery.
They had a menu with a happy birthday message for Terri, which was a nice touch, but also felt very exclusive, which generally isn't our style.
And they stuck to what was on the list, which was strange. In the past, maybe it was because we were wine club members, we were often offered other tastes of things, but not this time. It was basically what was on the predefined tasting menu. It was even stranger that I wasn't really encouraged to rejoin as a member. It was almost as if it didn't matter whether I rejoined or not. Maureen was nice enough and chatted with us, but something just felt off.
Lambert Bridge has a beautiful tasting room, and the grounds are lovely. They host various events for wine club members, which we've been to in the past. On their website, you can see all of the events they put on, including those for members only. For you EV drivers, there was an EV charger on the property. There was a Tesla charger too, but it was broken.
The tastings at Preston and Quivira were less expensive, with both costing $35 each. Laney at Preston was very friendly and was opening bottles for a wine club member and his friends. And since I was the only other person tasting in the tasting room, she poured the same for me.
Preston used to have pigs and sheep, but during the COVID shutdown, those went away. Their Guadagnier refillable jug program also went away during the pandemic. Locals could go each Sunday and refill their jug with an ever-changing red blend. We would bring our jug up when we visited and refill to enjoy the following week.
I was happy to see that they still had cats, but they were down to about 6 from, I think, a high of 13 at one point. The Preston merchandise is also gone, along with the snacks and provisions they would have to put a picnic together to enjoy on the property.
At Quivira, we only went to get Terri a glass of wine and walk around the property, and somehow we ended up spending nearly 2 hours there doing a tasting without a reservation.
Well, the website said that reservations were required, and I really didn't want to be locked into a specific schedule.
Well, Terri tasted a few wines and got more info than she expected on the wines. I walked around to see what had changed since we were last there. The property is beautiful. They still have chickens, and while it is no longer biodynamic officially, it is still organic.
Apparently there are all sorts of different rules around that. And we were surprised to see a Tesla charger in the parking lot, which we took full advantage of.
And speaking of fuel, you might be okay with drinking wine and skipping lunch, but I definitely wasn't, especially since I was drinking water and not wine.
Well, before we get to food, I wanted to make one more observation about wine tasting in Healdsburg. It used to be that you could visit more than a few wineries in a day. The way things are structured now, based on the ones that we visited, they appear to be attempting to provide an experience with the reservation and not just the tasting.
I noticed that too. This means that you spend more time at a single winery, which kind of defeats the purpose of wine tasting if you are looking to discover new wines and brands.
I don't know if this is a COVID thing, a bougie thing, a marketing thing, or something else. Preston suggested that you allocate 75 to 90 minutes. Lambert Bridge was at least 90 minutes, and so was Quivira. And this all adds up, and I'm not sure what to make of it.
Back to food. Many of the restaurants in Healdsburg have gone upscale too. While we had some really great food with good service, there were some high prices to go with it.
Yeah, including SingleThread, which we did for my birthday. SingleThread is a 3 Michelin star restaurant, might be the first one we've ever been to, and can only be described as a full-on experience. Dinner may have been the best meal of my life. Yours?
Yep.
Yeah. We are working on a video of our dining experience because it really was more than a meal.
I'm still surprised that there's a 3 Michelin star restaurant in Healdsburg, but I guess that's the way it's trending as more money has flowed into it.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten bougie.
There are some less involved options in Healdsburg. For lunch one day, we went to Bravas, a Spanish restaurant just off the Healdsburg Square, based on a recommendation from our friend John, who is batting 1,000 for recommendations. So thank you, and please keep them coming, John.
Yeah, it was reasonably priced and incredibly good. It was popular with the locals, and we will be going back, if only for the crab stuffed peppers and that seasonal asparagus dish. Wasn't the asparagus on like a pureed garlic and almond puree? I wanted to lick the plate.
Yes, it's small, so get a reservation, as it filled up quickly during lunch.
And remember the day I kept you starving while I drank wine while you drank water? Well, that day we went to Roof 106, which is part of Matheson, right on Healdsburg Square.
The Matheson is more than a restaurant, more like a concept place. It had a main restaurant downstairs along with a wine bar with 88 wines on tap for wine drinkers, unwilling to make a full commitment to a glass of wine.
I guess maybe that's where the tasting can happen, the whole preserving process.
Right.
There was a private dining area on the mezzanine overlooking the first floor with a beautiful backlit wine wall.
Roof 106 was on the 3rd floor, and the roof, thus the name Roof 106, and it was huge. There were several lounge areas, both inside and out, some with gas fire pits and a small dining area near the bar where we ate.
The food was good, and the server gave us a few recommendations for other women-owned and operated restaurants in the area when we mentioned that that's what we look for when we travel. He was really very, very nice and super helpful.
I'd forgotten about that. For dinner one night, we ate at the bar at Lo and Behold, women-owned and operated restaurant bar, also just off the square.
Oh my God, the food there was fantastic too. And that may also get us back up to Healdsburg sooner rather than later. If you go, our recommendation is to get whatever is on special and trust the flavor combinations. They may sound weird, but they were really good.
We needed a quick lunch before going to Safari West and decided on the Parish Cafe. We'd driven by it a few times since it's near one of the traffic circles on the edge of town.
Wasn't that the traffic circle that was near the $1 to $9 million condos that are being built right now?
Thus the bougie.
There was a sign at the Parish Cafe for po' boys, and after dinner at the SingleThread with the wine pairing, I needed something to settle my stomach and help me recover. They had both gumbo and jambalaya on the menu, and I could have eaten a full pot of the gumbo. Fried oyster po' boy was good too.
I am pretty sure they hollowed out the French roll, toasted it, buttered it, and then added the fried oysters and fixings. It was good and perfect for sharing.
Yeah, it was actually huge. It was so big that we ended up being too full and had to pass on the beignets. Big sad. Well, we stayed at a place on the square that we don't recommend. The square itself is cute, and pre-pandemic they would have music and events during the summer. There are multiple restaurants, shops, cafes, and a few hotels on the square and extending onto adjacent streets.
We discovered some live music at a few other places just off the square when we were walking to dinner on Friday night. We stopped to enjoy some of it. We had a little extra time.
Yeah, it was actually really fun. walk around the square, be sure to pop into the cooking store and the bookstore on the south side of the square, as well as some of the other shops on adjacent streets. My favorite shop, Clutch, sadly is no longer there.
I can't believe you haven't brought up the Healdsburg Bubble Bar.
Oh my God, me too. I'd seen this place pop up on Instagram and it's adorable. French-inspired champagne and sparkling wine bar right off the main square and it's kind of on the northeast side.
And of course, you had to do a champagne tasting.
Oh my gosh, of course. Sarah, the owner, has bubbly by the glass and special flights if you wanted to taste a few. April's flight was inspired by the eclipse, and I think March was all based on women, champagne, or sparkling winemakers. If you want to enjoy a bottle, which, I wish I could have done, she provides it with some fancy coupe glasses that her friends bought her as a gift for opening up the place. And if you're really interested in splurging, she does have an Airbnb above the shop, and then you won't have to stumble too far.
I don't think there's enough gumbo. There are a few hotels we recommend checking out if you want to stay on or near the square, and all three are owned by the same hotel company. The Hotel Healdsburg right on the square, H2, which is just down the street, and Harmon Guest House.
Yeah, we've stayed at the first two, and next time we will try the Harmon Guest House. We should have stayed there this time. Oh well.
We couldn't leave without showing you some of the gorgeous scenery in the area. We'll let you armchair travel and enjoy Healdsburg in the rain and in the sun, since we had both on our recent trip.
And I think that's all we have for you on Healdsburg, California for now. If you haven't been before, it's worth going to at least once. And maybe bougie is your scene, in which case you will love it.
As always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out either in the comments or via email at zekeandterri@gmail.com.
We will have links to all of the places we mentioned and more in the blog post on our website. I'll also include some additional wineries we've been to and enjoyed in the past, assuming they're still open. We have blog posts for all of the videos on our website. Sign up for our newsletter to get notified when new posts come out.
And now, back to navigating our lives and the world together.